Good morning, America. How are ya? Monday Morning Rail. Hi, I'm Denny Jelsma, and I'm at the beautiful Jacksonville Terminal Railroad Museum in beautiful Jacksonville, Florida. And today is Monday, and we all know what Monday is. It's show and tell. And show and tell starts right now.
Hi, my name's Greg Turn. I am usually Denny's photographer, but today I decided to do something a little different. I'm born and raised in Pennsylvania all my life, and as such I've kind of always been really interested in the diesels of the Baldwin Locomotive Company, which were built in Eddystone, which was just outside Philadelphia. Okay. Seaboard Airline was one of Baldwin's better diesel customers. They had a total of 86 units, okay, and I'm sorry, 82 units, and we're going to talk about Baldwin's diesels that were on Seaboard, show you the examples that we have here at the museum that we use fairly regularly, and then finally do a little what if. Okay, so the first units that Baldwin or that Seaboard bought, like most everybody else, were switchers. In 1941 they bought one VO 6000 and three VO 1000 locomotives. Okay, and that was it until after the war. In 1944 and 45, they bought four more of the VO 1000s. These were the first switchers of Baldwin's standard line. They were later replaced by a second set, the DS 44 1000s. Okay, came with two different motors. They came with an 806 NA, which was normally aspirated prime mover. Okay, Seaboard bought 8 of those. They bought 27 of the 44 1000s with 606 supercharged prime movers. Okay, that was the second group of Baldwin road switchers. The finals were the S12s, and Seaboard bought 10 of those in 52 and 53. Here in the West Jacks yard, we have examples of both the oldest and the newest Baldwin switchers that we use. Okay, number 1401 in the back, that's one of the VO 1000s from the 1941 order, which is the primary switcher that we use in West Jacks. The other switcher that we have is number 1465, which is one of the S12s from 52 and 53. Okay, as I said, they had 10 of those. And you can hear kind of the distinctive Baldwin sound. Baldwin ran very, their diesels turned over very slowly, okay, as you can hear. In fact, if the VO 1000 had smoke units in it at idle, you would be able to see the individual puffs as each cylinder fired. They turned over that slowly. Now that would be really something for somebody with a steam generator to figure out how to do. Okay. So those were the switchers, and the switchers were very long-lived on many railroads. Most of them lasted well into the Seaboard Coastline era. They outlasted the Alco switchers that Seaboard had, and they were retired The last of them were retired in '76 because of the Depression, not necessarily because they were even finally worn out. Okay. So those were the switchers. What else did Baldwin buy? Well, they had a passenger unit called the DR64 1500. Okay, that unit, Baldwin thought there might be a market for a lightweight, lower horsepower passenger unit for secondary runs. Okay, this was one of the lowest production of any of the Baldwin units. There were only 9 ever made. Seaboard had 3 of the A units, and they were used primarily in southern Florida on secondary passenger runs. These units had a rather long life for a first generation unit. Okay, the other 6 belonged to the New York Central. They had 4 A's and 2 B's. Then we come to probably the most famous Baldwin diesel, okay, the DR 12-8 3000 or the Centipede. Okay, a little bit of a background on how the Centipede came to be. Before World War II, Baldwin built an experimental diesel on this 2D plus D2 set of running gear. Okay, it was supposed to be a 6,000 horsepower locomotive powered by 8 750 horsepower prime movers. Unfortunately, only 4 were ever installed. The engine had significant electrical and prime mover problems, and the start of World War II basically canceled that program. The locomotive was parked at Eddystone for the entire time of the war. After the war ended, Seaboard was looking for a locomotive with high horsepower that would be easy on their track. And when they saw this engine still at Eddystone, they really liked the idea of the 4D plus D4 wheel arrangement. And so Baldwin then came back and designed this less ambitious product, but still at 3,000 horsepower was by far the most powerful locomotive, and was well into the second generation of diesel locomotive. Okay, like I said, Seaboard got the first one, number 4500. Originally, 4500 was assigned to passenger service running south out of Jacksonville. However, unfortunately for especially Baldwin, but also Seaboard, it turns out that these units had major electrical and prime mover problems. And as such, they were 4500, and the rest of Seaboard's Centipedes were relegated to freight service. The other purchasers of Centipedes included Pennsylvania Railroad and the National Railway of Mexico. They also had similar problems. And like I said, unfortunately for Baldwin, that led the Union Pacific to cancel their tentative order of, I think it's either 50 or 60 units, I forget which, but it would have been basically a doubling of the Centipede production. Okay, Centipedes on the Seaboard did not last nearly as long as the switchers or the other passenger units. They were getting rid of them by 56 or so.
60.
By 60, they were totally gone. Okay. And again, here you can hear Broadway Limited's Centipede. Then the last Baldwin locomotives that Seaboard bought, okay, were RS-12 light road switchers. These were equipped with steam generators and primarily used in passenger station switching service. Some of their assignments were, 2 were assigned to Hamlet, 2 to Birmingham, 1 in Atlanta, and 1 in Charlotte. Okay. That concludes the Baldwins that Seaboard actually bought. Now we're going to take a little trip back in time to 1949. Okay, at that time, Baldwin was trying to promote their newer line of diesels. The new road freight engine was going to be the RF-16, an improvement on the DR 44-1500. Now, both of these engines used the shark nose car body. Okay, what we see here is half of the demonstrator A unit. It has just come in from Savannah with the train you see in the background, demonstrating on the Seaboard, hoping to generate some orders. Okay. Now, the one thing about it, Broadway Limited calls these RF-16s. They really weren't. They were really DR 44-1500s, but they were set out to try and encourage people to buy the RF-16s. Okay. Who else bought sharks? Okay. Pennsylvania Railroad bought sharks. They bought freight sharks. They also bought the only passenger sharks. New York Central bought freight sharks. Baltimore and Ohio bought freight sharks. They also ended up in used service on the Monon Railroad, or not Monon, Monongahela Railroad from Pittsburgh. D&H ended up with 2 of them, and they finally ended up in Michigan, where they are more or less in existence, but hidden in one of the short lines in Michigan. Okay, so that's the idea of the Baldwin. And like I said, did these experimental unit or these demonstrators ever come to Jacksonville? Did they ever run on the Seaboard? I don't know. It's a nice fantasy. Okay, maybe somebody out there in viewer land knows what what railroads these locomotives actually demonstrated on. And just as the final note, after their demonstrator run, they were sold to the Elgin Joliet and Eastern, the Chicago Outer Belt, where they joined Baldwin DT 66-2000 transfer diesels in road service. They were not very popular with the crews out there because, it's really hard to do switching with cab units, and they were the only cab units that the EJ&E had. They eventually were sold to the B&O, where they joined the other DR 44-1500s that B&O had. That's it from the Jacksonville Terminal Railway Museum. As you can see, we have diesels that actually ran on the Seaboard, and we use them for the service that the Seaboard used them for. Thank you.